Recent statistics show more than 3 million Canadian children between the ages of 12 and 19 are at risk of developing depression. It's a staggering number, and it's a major concern for parents across the country. So how can we help as parents? Here with some guidance is child, youth, and family therapist Tanya De Silva. Good morning. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So when can anxiety and depression start in kids?
So for us, I honestly see it as young as 4 in our office.
4.
Yeah, they come in, they're worried about what's happening with their parents, if they're going to come and pick them up, if they're going to be okay. So we start seeing it as young as 4 and 5. But with that stat, it makes sense that we start seeing depression at 12 and 19 because there is statistics that say if it goes untreated in childhood, it typically does develop into depression.
Okay, so something to look out for if you have young children, even as they're getting older into their teen years. What are some signs that your child might be suffering?
So in terms of the signs, typically if they're already starting to avoid school or pull back from family gatherings or things that they once liked, if you're noticing that they're restless, they're overwhelmed, they're basically like their attention and their focus is starting to change. Behaviors come up a lot too, so disruptive behaviors, being unprepared, just any changes in their personality, that is something to look into.
We've got a list here on the screen saying things like clingy, disruptive, unfocused, unprepared. I mean, that can be my kids after a bad sleep. So at what point are we saying, okay, this is more than just a bad day, this is more than just a funky week, this is something where we need to actually actively pursue it?
Well, and we get that all the time from parents. They're like, how do I know the difference? So the way that we look at it is if it's happening for over 2 weeks, where it's not just a day, it's been days, it's been every day we're seeing this change, and it's starting to affect going to school, it's starting to affect family outings, and just their day-to-day activities that were once something that they could do, then that's when you realize it's not just the blues, it's not just butterflies, it's something a little bit more.
What can parents do?
So the way that we look at it is we always encourage first just creating that space of comfort for kids where they can open up about their feelings. So families can also start using their own emotional language and modeling emotional language as well as coping skills, but really validating their kids' feelings too, because that happens a lot where it's shut down, where it's like, you're gonna be fine, you're okay, get over it, and that doesn't really help them. And then the last thing is we're always like, come, seek support, come work with a therapist at our clinic. Even if it isn't anxiety or if it isn't depression, you're creating that space for them where they can talk about it and work through skills that are beneficial anyway.
Tanya, you pointed out something that we do so much as parents where we say, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Yeah.
So what should we say instead?
The way that we usually go about it is we validate that. We're like, yeah, that could be really hard. I can see why you would feel that way, right? So you want to open it up to them to, first of all, feel safe in their own feelings, where it's like, yeah, it is okay that I feel this way. Other people feel this way too. And essentially give them that space to explore it. So why do you feel that way? What are your thoughts? What's going on? What's going into it? So I always tell parents, I'm like, listen to your kids and try and understand where they're coming from instead of trying to save them. Because we're always trying to like make things better and keep things going, right?
Yeah, I guess that's not our job. Our job is just to help them through life, not to save them from their life.
Exactly.
What about social media? It's so hard. And then we know that so much bullying happens on social media, self-comparison happens. How do we navigate that? Well,
and we see that a lot, even at the office. We've had so many inquiries to come into schools and work on anti-bullying and social media. So it's something that is affecting kids. The way that it affects them is we see it where there's these unrealistic comparisons. There's filters, there's Facetune, there's all this stuff that what we're looking at isn't accurate. There's also the fact that a lot of kids, when they're looking online, they're looking at highlight reels. So they're thinking, my life doesn't look like this, but neither is theirs. You're only seeing the best part of it. So especially the comparison piece, we find really affects the depression and the anxiety, but even those false senses of connection. It's like you're on there and you're feeling connected, but you're not really connected. And that goes into video games as well. We see that especially with boys where they're like, oh, my friend's online. And I'm like, but do you actually know them? Like you could be playing with a 30-year-old man and have no idea that he's a 30-year-old man, right? So it definitely affects their overall mood.
Okay, so media literacy is part of the conversation too.
Absolutely.
Tanya, thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.